This is Transit Connect episode number 8. Today I'm going to be changing the management on the van, and I'm swapping it over to an ECU called Kms mp25. So again, like every video I ever do, I don't know how it's going to go. I'm just going to play it by ear and I'll just film it as I go. So yeah, let's get on with it. Right, so this is the ECU we're going to be using. This is a Kms mp25. Most of my customers call it the black box one, the one in the black box, because this is like the entry level one they do, although it's quite capable for an entry level ECU, but they do that one. You've got the MD35, which that's how they come as standard. Then they also do the Dakar edition, which is a black with the carbon fibre backplate. But for now I'm literally just going to be using this one, so this is the one we're going to be using today, and I'll talk you through it as we go. So this is what you get when you buy a Kms mp25. You get the ECU itself in a black plastic case. You can also get them in metal anodised case as well if you need to upgrade to it, if you want something a little bit more rugged, but I've never found a problem at all with the black plastic cases. You get the main harness connector, and you get the pins as well as all the little boots and all the little rubber seals and stuff. And you get the software on a DVD, so everything you really need. All you will need is, you will also need a RS232 converter, obviously because it's got RS232 connection, and not a lot of laptops have that nowadays, so that's the easiest way to go about it. So yeah. So this is the wiring loom, the KMS wiring loom that you can buy as well. It's quite a nice loom. It's fully braided and heat shrinked at the ends, and it comes with all the pins already crimped onto the end. So all you have to do is put the connectors on, and then you just run it to length, cut it down to length, put the pins on the other end, and then push the pins into the ECU plug. It's really simple to do. Don't be put off by it. I'm going to show you how. So you get a nice braided loom with everything you need. This is the KMS mp25 basic loom for a 4-cylinder engine. You get every cable you could need to get an engine up and running. You also get some extra wiring, which is quite nice, and you get a pin out of the plug. So it's really simple. It's all numbered. I'll show you how to do it now. So I thought I'd try and show you up close the ends of the loom. This is the basic mp25 wiring loom for a 4-cylinder. So it's got everything in here really you need to get a Zetec engine or whatever you want to run up and running. You've got the crankshaft, crank sensor wire in there. It's all shielded as well, so just as it should be. You've got map sensor, throttle position sensor. You've got the coil. The pins on the end will go straight into any Ford connector. So if you've got like an old Ford wiring loom, what I normally do is just nick the plugs off of it, and then you can literally push these pins in, they'll clip in, and away you go. The KMS mp25, or all the KMS ECUs to be honest, they won't actually drive a Ford core pack direct. It needs a more modern core pack like a Volkswagen one, which has got built-in igniters. So that's what I'm going to convert over today, so I'll show you how to do that. If you want to keep the OEM look, and you want to use like a Ford Zetec core packs or something like that, you can do that, but you need to buy a ignition driver, which you have to wire on in line, which I'll cover another day. So yeah, that's that. You've got the injection harness all done, all connected up, all nice again with all the pins on the end. The standard Ford injector plugs will clip straight into these, or these will clip into the injector plugs rather. Lambda sensor wiring. What's that one? Inlet air temperature sensor and engine coolant temperature sensor. So yeah, every basic sensor that you'll need to get it up and running. There's plenty of cable as well, so you can mount the ECU wherever you want really, and just cut them down and crimp the pins on the end. So yeah, let's get on with that. Okay, so I thought I'd pre-warn you now, just before someone picks up on it. The loom I literally just showed you is a brand new loom in a box, but because I'm wiring this up on my van, I've got literally like a massive box of like KMS wiring that I just, that every garage has got, full of connectors and bits and bobs. So rather than use a brand new loom on my van, I'm going to be using KMS loom again, but I'm just going to be pulling it out of all these odd wires that I've got. And it seems a shame to just sit it all there. These are the core pack drivers that I said about earlier. If you want to run the ignition drivers rather, if you want to run a Ford Zetec core pack direct, you will need one of these. They are really easy to wire up, to be fair, but I like to just switch over to this type of core pack. This is just a Volkswagen core pack. You can get them off the internet for like 30-40 quid, and I just use like Volkswagen Polo leads, because again they're quite good leads, and the coil packs just seem to perform a lot better than what the Zetec ones do, especially when it comes to reliability and stuff as well. The Zetec ones tend to fail every now and then, I've noticed. So yeah, basically, so if you notice that the wiring loom I'm using is not as clean and pristine as the one I just showed you, that's why, because I'm going to be just pulling it out of this box of spares I've got. So yeah. Okay, so we've got the Kms Injection Harness, so that's the obviously the wiring loom that goes to all 4 injectors. I'm going to try and show you what I mean about how to connect these pins to a standard Ford loom. So I've just cut this plug off of an old loom. This is the same type of plug that the fuel injectors on the van uses. I'm going to show you the easiest way to get the pins out. You need a pin tool like this. I got this one out of a Blue Point toolkit. The part number is TT12KT. So if you've got a Snap-on, man, you can just order these and you get loads of different type of ones. But I'm using the K tool, and all you do is you get the plug like this, and then you just slide the actual pin tool either side of the pin. Push it down until it clicks, and then you just give the wires a tug on the back of the plug and they come out like that. So do that with the other one as well, just till it clicks, and then out it comes. And then you can now use this plug on the KMS harness. So basically you've got the harness, and all you do is just slide the pins in. Show you as best as I can, and they just clip straight into the standard full plugs. There you go, just push the little yellow bits down and that's it. That's how you put the plugs on the end of the KMS loom. So the next one I'm going to be wiring up is the water temperature sensor. If you watched on my old videos, if you remember, you can't really see, but on the back of the thermostat housing I actually drilled and tapped and fitted a water temp sensor. So I'm just going to use that, so that makes life nice and easy. Just clip that on, there you go, and away you go. So now I can just poke this whole long length of loom through into the back of the dash, and then I can wire it all up in a minute. So I stripped off all the standard Ford coil pack, and I've got rid of the bracket that it bolted to as well. And I've literally bolted just a flat piece of bar to one of the original holes. I might make one off of that hole as well at some point. And then I've got a metal plate that bolts to the bottom of the Polo coil pack. I'm literally just going to weld that to that there, and then I can mount the Polo coil pack like that, or the Volkswagen coil pack just there. And the blacktop leads, Zetec blacktop leads, will plug straight onto a Volkswagen coil, so it makes it nice and simple. Okay, so I've run the wiring through for the coil pack, and I've put that inside the cab, and the inlet air temp sensor, I've put a connector on that. If you watched one of the last videos, you know that I had an inlet air temp sensor screwed into the side of the airbox, so I'm just going to reuse that, but I've not got the airbox on the van at the minute, so I've just plugged that in for a reference. On the throttle position sensor, you can't really see it down here. It's on this type of, on the standard blacktop Zetec with the black plastic inlet manifold. The TPS is a bit of a weird plug, so all I've done is chop this one off of a loom, and I've got the TPS throttle position sensor wiring from the KMS loom, and I can tell you on the plug, looking at it, from the back of the plug you've got the brown, which is the earth, and then you've got the yellow on the left, which is the 5-volt feed from the ECU to the TPS, and then you've got the white, which is the return to the ECU. And it's pretty similar on the KMS wiring. Black is your ground, yellow is your 5-volt feed, and grey, so it literally just needs to be connected to the plug like that pretty much. So you've got your black for your earth, your grey for your signal for return, and your yellow for your 5-volt feed. So I'm just going to cut the pins off this wiring, cut it off the plug, and then I'm just going to solder it and heat shrink it and make it all look nice. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I've literally got that little piece of metal that I was talking about, just put a little few blobs of weld on the side of it, and that is going to bolt just there to one of the old coil pack bracket bolt holes. And I might at some point put another bracket on, but no me, I'll probably just leave it as long as it's alright. I'm sure it'll be fine. So yeah, going to bolt that on now. So should mention, obviously I'm using the Volkswagen coil pack. I thought you might like to see how the colours wire up in reference to the plug. I got this plug off of the internet. It's not the same colours as Volkswagen, but in the KMS wiring you've got orange, looking at the back of the plug, orange goes to pin 1, and then you've got the red 12 volt feed goes to pin 2, and then you've got the green wire on the KMS loom goes to pin 3, and then pin 4 is just a ground, so I've just put a crimp on the end of that and just bolted it down there to the bottom of the core pack. Fitted the TPS wiring, run it all through into the car, so getting there slowly. Okay, so I've got the pin out that comes with the wiring loom, and it tells you what number and what colour does what on the ECU, so it's nice and simple. And on the back of the plug, you probably can't see it very well because it's very, very small, but the pins are all numbered. Yeah, just along the bottom there. You've got 1 to 13 across the bottom, and then you've got 14 to 25 across the top. And that's looking at it from the back of the connector as well, so you know, to save confusion. So yeah, one thing I will say is, obviously this is the ECU plug that clips on the top of the ECU, and then that's obviously the connector that goes inside that. I always forget to put this on first before I start connecting all the pins, so I'm going to do that straight away right now, because if you forget to do that, then you know, you have to unpin the whole plug and start again basically. So I've cut all the loom to length, and I fitted the little rubber grommet and the back of the ECU plug, like I said I always forget. I've also connected up, because from the previous ECU was already there, so I just changed it around a bit, the switched ignition 12 volts to power the ECU up obviously, and I've also wired in a ground, so the ECU's got an earth. A lot of the sensors obviously all have to go to ground as well. It's not advised to put them all in the back of the same pin because it doesn't really fit, and then you can't really, it says to ground them as close to the ECU as possible, so they all go to the same earth to avoid interference and things like that, but there's not a lot of room in the plug, so when you connect them all up in there, it makes it hard work. So all I do is on the earth wire that actually goes into the ECU, I connect all the returns, all the sensor earths to that same wire, but just outside the plug, just so it makes it a little bit neater inside the plug. I've also cut back some of the braid and just left a couple of inches so it doesn't, you know, get in the way and stuff. So yeah, that's what's next. I've just got to put the pins on the end. Okay, this is going to be quite awkward to show you, but I'm going to try my best. The first pin I'm going to put on is the 12 volt ignition feed to the ECU. This is what the pins look like when you just sort of, you know, break them off the little strip of pins you get. You need to leave like a few mil of, you know, you only need to strip a few mil of the cover off the actual wire, and then you need to tuck it into the back of the pin so it sits like that. I don't know how well you can see that, but meh. These are the crimps that KMS, you know, advise that you use, and they do sell them on their site, but you can get very similar things from Snap-on and stuff like that, but these work quite well, so this is what I use basically. So basically, when you're putting the pins on the end of the wire, you need just to strip a few mil of the bare cable back, and then it needs to sit in the pin like that. So that's what you're aiming for. I don't know how well you can see that, but it literally has to sit basically like that. It's got to sit like that. There you go. So you want the pin sort of pokes out the back, and then you thread the wire in there just till you see it sit nice and snugly, and then crimp it. And there you have it. That's what it should look like. It should just grab the outer sheath of the cable, and that stops the pin falling off, that anchors it, and then the inner bit just gets rolled nice and flat. You don't, if you haven't got any of these crimpers, you can do it with just a pair of like normal side cutters. I suppose I should show you that way as well. It's a little bit bodge, but sometimes I find it a bit easier to do it, especially on, you know, some of the thinner wires as well. It can get quite tricky, so I'll show you that now. Break your pin off of the little rack, stick your wire into it like that, and then you can just very gently like roll the edge of the pins over. It's not the best way of doing it, but I have done it like this in the past before I had the crimpers, and it works fine as long as you know, by the time you've done one, it's quite easy. There you go, done, just like that. See, just with a pair of normal side cutters. Snap on again, or blueprint, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so now I've put some of the pins on the ends of the wires. So this is red and white wire. White, I believe, is fuel injection, which is easy enough. Find the white wire there, which is pin 11, and it's injector output. So all you do is find the plug, go to pin 11, which is there. This is going to be hard to do one-handed, but you literally just put the pin in like that, and that's it. It's in, it's fitted. That's all you have to do. And then I'm sure somewhere near it will be a red pin 12. Injector 12 volt supply, so that's the one next to it. So again, just put that in the plug, one-handed and cack-handed, like that. Done. That's the injector supply done. See, it's easy as that. Now all you got to do, all I've got to do is carry on doing this with the rest of the colours, and yeah, before I know it, all the wires are in the plug, and it should be time to start. See, not hard, is it? So what I forgot to mention was that the ECU's got its own ground, which is pin 25, and that's also the Lambda ground as well. If you're running a Lambda sensor, you should really ground it to that wire. Because I'm not running at the moment a map sensor, because it's going to be TPS versus RPM, I realised that I didn't have a map sensor ground to ground as well. So what I done was I twisted all the wires together nice and tight, and I managed to squish them all into one crimp. Not ideal, but I forgot to mention that all the sensors, like the air temperature sensor, water temperature sensor, the throttle position sensor, and the crank sensor ground, all go to the same pin. They go to pin 17, and it grounds them out through the ECU to stop interference and things like that. So it's quite a neat idea. It does say in the manual to connect them all together as close to the ECU as you can, obviously for that reason. But because, as I've said, because I'm not running a map sensor, I managed to get all the wires into the same crimp. But it doesn't look too great, but I'm sure it'll work fine. But just to be a bit on the safe side, it's not ideal, but I'm just going to put a little blob of solder on the edge of it as well, just to make sure they're all connected nicely. So yeah, getting there slowly. And obviously I've put all the other wires in. It's really, really simple to do. They're all color coded, like, you know, grey and blue. You know, grey wire with a blue tracer. So you just look up here, and grey and blue is pin 3, and that is water temperature signal. So really easy, you know. Red with a blue tracer. Again, look here, pin 5, red and blue colour is air temperature signal, and it tells you where it goes, and it's all the plugs numbered across there. So you literally crimp the wires on the end, plug them in, and it's as simple as that. There's really nothing to it. It's not that scary when you actually get down to it. This is going to be the coil pack wiring. I've still got to do that as well, but getting there slowly. Okay, so I've finished off all the wiring that was needed to make it run. This is like the bare minimum to get this car up and running, so there's no Lambda sensor or anything like that, or any launch control wired in, or blah blah blah. Not that you need launch control to make it run, of course. So all I've done is this one, which is the feed to the coil pack with the green and the orange, which has a red. That red is a 12 volt feed to the coil. So all I did is the 12 volt feed going to the ECU. You just loop it around and connect it to that. I've just soldered it on and insulated it. It's quite hard to see, but all you do now is you sort of twist and buckle the wires. Buckle, that sounds terrible. You manipulate the wires and move them all over until you slide the plug down, and then the back half of that plug hooks in up there, and then you've got a little screw that just goes through there and into there and holds it all in place all nicely. So I'm going to do that now, and a few more bits and bobs, and see if I can make it run. Right, sorry about the mess. So I've got the ECU plugged in now. Some of the things I forgot to mention was, obviously, because I'm wiring the KMS ECU up in my van, the van's already fuel injected, and I've left the standard ECU in place under the dash to control the clocks and, you know, bits and bobs like that. So I haven't had to wire up things like the fuel pump feed or the cooling fans or anything like that, because the standard ECU will take care. The standard ECU is still in place, and it's still doing the job that it thinks it's doing, but obviously it's not controlling the injectors or the coil pack and things like that. The KMS ECU is. So you take into consideration you'll have to wire up things like that as well. So other than that, I've got the ECU in now. Turn the ignition on, which will power the ECU up. If we go to the software, F10 to connect, he says. There we go. Always click system to PC. And it uploads the data from the ECU. I've put a base map on here. Some of the things you want to check first of all to start off with is like down here you've got water temp sensor and air temp sensor, and this van hasn't run in the last couple of hours, well, say about 5-6 hours, so you expect the coolant temp and the air temp to be reading about the same, and it's about 22 degrees, so that's fine. 22 degrees for the water temp and 24 degrees for the air temp, so it's around the same. Now this one here is engine load in throttle position. Now as you can see it's sitting quite high in the map, which means that this will need calibrating, which is pretty easy to do. You literally go F4, options, engine load sensors, and then you've got automatic calibration there. So you click on that, and it says set the engine load 1 sensor to minimum, so basically don't touch the throttle. Okay. Now set it to maximum, so hold the throttle, put my foot on the throttle flat out, and then press OK. OK, and that's that done. Now if you go back to the main screen, it will download the data again. And then all you have to do to save it with KMS, it's going to be quite hard, Alt and then press L, and that's it, the data is now saved to the ECU. Now if you look under engine load, you can see that's now 0, and it will sweep from 0 to about 15.9, 16, something like that, where it should sit. So that's the TPS now calibrated. Now I'm going to try and start it. It's probably not going to start because the first thing you want to check for when cranking is to make sure that you've got an RPM signal down in the corner. So I'm going to do that. This one's, you know what, I could probably make that bigger actually. Nope, it just disconnects the ECU. Live and learn. Every day's a school day. Okay, so down in the corner you've got engine speed and RPM. I'm going to crank it now and make sure we should see a couple of 100 RPM. That's fine, 200 RPM, but obviously it doesn't start. So I'm going to hazard a guess that I've got the HT leads on the wrong way around. So I'm going to go play around with them and see if I can get it to fire. Okay, so after a few failed attempts on trying to start it, I realised that while I was cranking, when it was coughing, I was actually losing RPM signal. I could see down in the bottom here, it was while cranking it was about 200 RPM, and then it was dropping off to 0 every time the engine coughed. So it raised my suspicion slightly, so I swapped the wires around on the crank sensor, and now, a bit rough, but it does run. Runs right, needs a bit of mapping, but yeah. So it's a good start, a very good start. So now I can work from there. I've just got to put all the glove box back together, mount the ECU. Does sound good. Obviously the engine light's on because the standard ECU is obviously having a bit of a freak out. So yeah, mapping time. So the van is all back together, glove box is back in, ECU's all up and running, roped a mate into driving for me, and he's falling asleep while we cruise down the motorway in the rain. Getting there, slowly tuning the light throttle loads, gonna give it a bit more soon, do some flat out mapping. What's it drive like?
Drives alright.
Yeah, good. 60 mile an hour, just cruising along, you know? Yeah. So, there we have it. We went out and about, we put a little bit of a base map on the KMS ECU. Van drives really nice again, which is great. Some of you are probably wondering why I changed the ECUs over to KMS. It's because personal preferences really. I just quite like KMS. They put them on everything from snowmobiles to jet skis to London black cabs and things like that. And I just like the features. I like the way they work. I know my way around them really well. I supply them as well. They're available on the website if you want one. So that's why I changed to it really. Now I've done that, I feel a lot more confident. So next week I will be putting the turbocharger on the van. The next video you see will definitely be me bolting a turbocharger to this van to blow it up, basically. So yeah, I hope you like this video. Subscribe it, share it, help me out a bit. Go have a look around the website. Yeah, cheers.